Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, I don't think there's a need for pleasantries this week, mate. Everything aside from the Villa is all good.
Yeah.
On both respects. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad. This is giving me lockdown vibes, mate.
It is.
They're both of us in Birmingham.
What are we doing?
Me back in my old spare bedroom and everything like that. We've moved on a lot since these. But yes, mate. Yes, there's a nice element of nostalgia to this podcast, if nothing else. I haven't got my mic with me, unfortunately, so I do apologise to you guys that the audio quality isn't as good as normal. That's because I can't fit it in my rucksack to get on the train. It's a bit too big a piece of apparatus to be limbering under my arm. But all that aside, mate, not too bad.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. Now, before we get into what is probably going to be a short podcast, it is time to hear from our sponsors, One Football. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you
sure
guys. It's One Football. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that One Football using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. So guys, if you haven't checked out One Football, make sure you do so using the top link in the description. It helps Dan and I out to no ends. Now, Dan, Arsenal won, Aston Villa 0, Arsenal 1, I should say. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I'm sorry to everybody down who's watching this. It almost feels like a cop-out to come on here after 2 defeats in a row and say, it just wasn't our game. But it really did feel like that. And unfortunately, mate, I think the mentality that we kind of had at least hoped Villa would instill for these final 10, like run of 10 or 9 games, I think we've got now, was, let's see how far up the table we can finish. Even the turn of the last podcast, it's still very much within our destiny, especially with Wolves losing last night in the manner that they did to Leeds. Yet we're in a situation where I think not only us, mate, but I think some of the players are just ticking the games off, just trying to get these ones out of the way and get them on the beach in the summer.
Yeah,
it's feeling so long right now, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's a real weird one, mate. It's like I always try and avoid that sort of the players aren't in it. You know what I mean? Like they're outside in it and all that sort of stuff. Because I'm like, I think for the most part, that's very often not the case. I always think there's more at play than that. But I think we're in a bit of a lurch really, where the club is, I hate saying it, mate. Fucking hell, I'm fed up with saying the club's in transition, but it is. Yeah. We're in between 2 eras now. The Dean Smith era has come to an end. The Steven Gerrard one, I still believe it's yet to really begin, to be honest with you. It doesn't really feel like it ever truly got started, and I think it will truly commence next August. But in the meantime, we're just sort of in the lurch between nothing to play for. We're out of all the cup competitions. Europe was there was a glimmer on the horizon after we won those 3 games in a row that maybe we could force ourselves even into a conversation. But those conversations have very much been put to an end, mate. I think, today was just it really. I sort of felt like, almost like if it was played later on in the day, if it wasn't at 12:30, I felt like we would have had more of a chance. It never really felt like we got out the dressing room. The intensity, it just felt like the boys were running through mud like the whole game. Like pressing felt laborious and everything was sloppy and slow and it all felt forced. And the boys every player looked like they had really heavy legs. The touches were sloppy, the passes were slack. It was just sort of like, Arsenal were a good team, and I think We only really lost today because we played against a side that had a better plan. They just came to Villa Park with a bit more of an identity and a bit more togetherness. And that was probably the reason they edged it. I don't actually really believe there was too much. I tweeted on the account and I said, the first thing I walked out was like, that's the most 0-0 game I've ever seen not to end 0-0. And that's how it felt, mate. I just felt Arsenal probably edged it just because they had a bit more about them than we did on the day.
I think what's disappointing is when you look at what Stevie said in his post-match press conference, we set up to be aggressive but lacked belief in what we were doing. I thought certain individuals lacked belief. It's hard to execute a game plan if not everybody believes in what you're doing. Sounds like we're in for a busy summer. That's all I can say on that, mate. That's all I can say. I think it would be easy for, if it was maybe Dino or Bruce or anyone else who's in charge to say that, for people to say, well, it's a bit of a cop-out. But I think there is such a drastic change in how the players are expected to play. Not only just, from changing managers, but from the last game, mate. We've reverted back to the sort of the Christmas tree, if you want to call it that. At times, I felt it was more like a traditional 4-3-3. I think Emmy and Phil were wider for large portions of the game than we would have perhaps expected. But it's frustrating, as you said, mate. 0-0. It had 0-0 written all over it. Arsenal 10 chances, 3 on target, 1 goal. Villa 8 shots, 1 on target, no goals. This is now 2 defeats in a row. We've played what seemingly are Gerrard's 2 different systems, and flattered to impress in either, which is a bit worrying. And I think today intended to maybe be the sort of the 2-10s, the Christmas tree, however you want to consider it. But to me, it felt more like just a traditional 4-3-3. I think Phil and Emmy were too wide and weren't involved in the game as much as you'd hope for. And when you have your 2 most creative players on the pitch, you have to be creating more chances than the 9 or 10 that we created up, throughout this game. I don't understand. And I think that, this may be a hot take, and I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, mate, but I genuinely, and again, the game, it could have been the way that the game panned out and the fact Arsenal were in game management mode, but Villa looked a far more balanced side with both Bertie and Bailey on the pitch for me. 2 proper wingers playing in their respective positions. And I understand Villa are chasing the game, and Arsenal again. I mean, to be honest, Arsenal were in game management mode for me from the minute the first goal happened. But at that point, they were really sinking deep, and I think it was a real difficult task to try and get to the byline and get some crosses into the box. But it is slightly concerning. And I don't think we should be giving Gerrard a free pass here, mate, because again, these are both games, West Ham and Arsenal, that if you just remain competitive in the game, you leave with a point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. I didn't really feel like, if this game wasn't a chance for a reset, the next one definitely is. I'm not convinced by Coutinho out wide, to be honest with you. Not that he doesn't have the ability to play that role, but we really miss his presence in the middle. We really struggle to create. If it's not on a counter-attack, we really struggle to forge openings. And I think we need him in the middle of the park because he feels wasted out wide. He doesn't get the ball enough. And look, I know this is probably the worst game we've seen from Coutinho since he joined Villa today. Really didn't leave his footprint on it at all. But you do still feel like he's wasted out wide. And that when, I thought Bailey did all right when he came on. I mean, in the context of the game, I thought he did okay. He didn't do nothing amazing, but he came on and provided energy. And that's one thing that Villa lacked today in abundance. The only real player I can shout out for a performance today, and it's not even really because they did anything spectacular. It was just, I felt Matty Cash really tried to make things happen today. Yeah. I thought there were a lot of times he'd carry the ball forward. He'd make runs down the right-hand side. And I felt like he was the only one really bringing that sort of energy that we so desperately needed. And I thought when Leon came on, he did a similar sort of thing. We won a few corners off him. He came on and tried a bit of trickery and stuff like that. Lost the ball a couple of times, but such is the nature of the kind of player that he is. And I think, yeah, when that sort of came on, it sort of, those are two, as you said, mate, very well put. They are two proper wingers. They are traditional wingers. They are beat a man, get the ball in, especially Leon. And we don't have, the problem is that without those two players or players of that ilk on the side, we don't have the ability to beat a man. You know, I saw, it seems like a few Villa fans are starting to lose a bit of patience with Ollie Watkins and stuff like that. And it's sort of like his strength is his hold at play. But when that's not working like it is today, he's not really the fastest. So if he's going to run in behind, it has to be very well timed and very well put together, because he's not going to beat too many defenders for pace. He's not really got it in to drop a shoulder and beat a man and slalom past midfielders and defenders and stuff like that. So I think when you have those players on the pitch, they do give you that 1v1 ability, which can be very important, which is why you look at, even in poor performances when Jack was here, he'd salvage the game, mate, because he could beat 2 or 3 players, get to the byline, put a ball back in, or take a shot himself. He had that ability to be like, right, if the team isn't playing so well, I don't need him. Like I can quite easily beat the right-sided midfielder and the right back and create something myself. Which brings me on to the next point, mate. Something I want to put to you is the curious case of Jacob Ramsey.
Yeah,
what's happened to him, mate? What has happened? It's like, I remember when we did the deep dive into him, I was saying, like, he's this all-action midfielder that can beat a man, loves to dribble. We haven't seen that in so long. We haven't seen him taking players on. This, again, was a really, we love JJ here on this show, mate. No slander whatsoever, but he was poor today. He was poor. What's happened to him?
I think the problem both the last 2 games, you're looking at really organised midfields. And, as much as we meme Arsenal and we did in the preview, after, they're well, 2.5 years into the Arteta reign, they're well drilled. He's removed the dead wood. And you have to look and think, okay, well, realistically, this time in 2 years' time, hopefully Villa are that well drilled, with the current project of Steven Gerrard. I think that's a positive that we can take from today. But no, against West Ham and against Arsenal, he's just been smothered, mate. Absolutely smothered. And the midfield is a serious problem, because Arsenal, were very efficient in their press and just harassed us for the whole sort of opening 45 minutes, is where I think we really struggled. And JJ, I don't want to say is maybe complacent, but it does almost feel as if he's undroppable. And I don't necessarily think that should be the case. I don't know if that's a debate that people are willing to welcome. Obviously, big fans of Morgan Sands on here. For me, you have to get him in the team. You have to get him in the team. And I don't think a game or even an hour on the bench, I don't think that's a bad thing for JJ. I think, you have to keep people hungry. And I think since he's come in, Gerrard has kind of made it fairly clear how much he adores him and how much he's the guy. But sometimes when it ain't working, you just have to accept that.
Yeah.
But, I've got to say, Ollie Watkins again. Where's the first touch? Where's the first touch? Now, him and Ings are different strikers. Don't get me wrong. Someone replied to me on Twitter, Ings can't play by himself. Of course he can. It's totally ludicrous. Yeah. When you've got the likes of Coutinho and Buendia supplying him, he couldn't ask for better service.
Yeah, and absolutely, mate.
For me, I think, all right, if you're looking for someone to score goals, sure, Ollie has outscored Danny, right? That is a fact. And unfortunately, I can't argue with that. Game time is seriously in favour of Ollie Watkins. But what Danny brings to the side in terms of link-up play, bringing other people into the game, I hate to say intelligent runs because it sounds like Scott Hogan all over again, but Danny Ings is a footballer. He has a footballing brain, and he offers so much more to the team than what Ollie Watkins does. And I hate that, we're bringing this debate back again, but when you drop them, it's going to happen. And I can't help but feel like today was a game that was really made for Danny Ings. If you look at the Everton game at home, right, for example, Leon Bailey, fantastic goal. Okay, who picks him out from 45 yards, all over the top?
It's your boy. It's your boy.
inch perfect
outside
pass.
the boot. It was lovely, wasn't it? Yeah.
It finds the space. It's fantastic. When on earth has Ollie Watkins done that? Can anybody give me an example of a moment where there was some seriously intelligent play from Ollie Watkins? I can't think of any. I genuinely can't. I'm happy to be stood corrected in the comments, guys. So please weigh in. But this game felt like it was crying out for Ingsy. And, you know, he'd only been on the pitch 5 minutes and there's a looping header that is so close to going in. And, you know, obviously you want your strikers to score goals. But if Danny can bring other players into the game and get them into better positions and hopefully goal scoring opportunities come from that, then surely it's more worth having him on the pitch than Ollie, who it seems like, okay, yeah, he presses, but a lot of the time it's half-arsed. I think there could have been a lot more of a cohesive press today from the forwards. I'm not just going to sit here and out Ollie for that. I think from both Emmy and Phil, really disappointed in the sort of the pressures on that Arsenal back four, because a few opportunities where Ben White, little chip, he's missing the ball, header's not quite there. And you're in if you commit to that press, and that's what Steven Gerrard's referring to. But it's frustrating, mate. And listen, you know, if the roles were reversed and Danny Ings started, I'd probably be saying the same thing, because we're all fickle football fans, you know. And I'd be like, get Ollie on, come on. But sometimes you do just have to change things up early, and I think that's ultimately the point I'm trying to hammer here. Is there too much trust in the players? Is there a lack of trust in the substitutes? You know, I think there's some soul searching that has to be going on, mate. There is. And you know, Ashley Young, as much as I love him, he can't play left back for 90 minutes.
Yeah, mate, he can't. He can't,
look,
man.
How much more of a balanced team do we look with Dean, mate?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're absolutely. You know what? Give credit to Ashley. There were a few moments where he was running the opposition box. I was like, you know what? He's still got a step over in him. To be fair to him, he hasn't got the legs. You know, it was like pretty much first thing in the game, a ball went in behind him for Saka, and you're like, okay, like he just hasn't got that turn of pace.
And it's not slander either. Like, we love Ash.
No, it's not.
He's 38.
As I said, mate. Yeah, exactly. He's like, this is Saka's like almost half his age. And it's like, man, like, you know, I don't think he had the worst game. I think far from the problem. Of course, Luca Digne is a better player than him. Obviously, he is. Like, it goes without saying. But yeah, I mean, Ashley, as I said, to give him his flowers, mate. A few times he got you know, so I was like, yeah, he can beat me. He's got a few step overs in him. He put a few balls in, and I was like, okay, that's okay. But yeah, as for the Ollie Ings debate, mate, it's like I heard 3 individual people around me today say get Cameron Archer back. I was like, so you know what? I'll just start banging that drum. Maybe the answer to Ings and Watkins is neither. It's
you could be right.
But nah, I mean, look, I'm trying to take individual performances with a pinch of salt, because I genuinely, as I said earlier, apart from like Matty Cash with a few sort of barnstorming runs, I can't really single out anyone that had an okay day, to be honest with you. I'm yet to see the goal back. But it's even starting to creep into Emi Martinez's game, because I'm like, I think last season he saves it. And there's been a few chances like that. There's been a few goals this season where I'm like, Emmy, like I've seen you save those, and look, I know no goalkeeper is invincible. No, like you can't roll it down to he's saved those shots before, so we should save them this time. It's far from being that easy, and by no means is he saying I'm doubting him or anything like that. But it just goes to show that in every department of the team, there are players where I'm looking at going like, I've seen better from you, John McGinn. I've seen better. It's like Esri, Tyrone, like you can pick the names out. It's like I've seen better performances from them before. They're doing things which I know they can do better. And look, mate, as I said, I don't want to get too reactionary, because you know when we won 3 in a row, these guys were the best thing since sliced bread. And we absolutely love them. They were great, and they're not putting a foot wrong. And it's like we've won a couple of games, and it's like now we've lost a couple, and the narrative changes completely. So it's like you have to keep level-headed and try and remember exactly where we were a few weeks ago when everything was hunky-dory. And sort of you can't get too highs with the highs, and you can't get too low with the lows, can you, mate?
No, yeah, I think that's probably a good note to end it on. Again, a frustrating one, but Shit happens, don't it? 2 weeks off. Hopefully Dean can be back. I know he's been included in the French squad, which is a bit frustrating, I want to say. Apparently, they reckon that he may be fit for their second game. I understand the politics of him going, because if he's not in, then there's about 20 French left backs who can get in that side. And I think it's been a while since he's been called up, actually. So, obviously, all power to him. Hopefully, even if he does play, it's not for too long and no more damage is done. Congrats to all the young Lions as well who've been called up.
Yes.
Fantastic news. Hopefully, they have a great time. Stop losing your shit over JJ not going to England, please, because he'll be playing for Man City before you know it. We've been there. This is like the 5th time now. I'm bored of it. I'm bored of the narrative, guys. Like, I don't want our players to play for England anymore. I don't care. I'm over it. I'm totally over it. Do you know what? Everyone's talking about Conte. Why is Conte like? What about Callum Chambers? Let's start banging Callum Chambers drum. Get this man in the England team.
That's what I want to hear.
Fantastic. And probably should have played today. Again, that's a debate for another day. We will be back. I don't know what we'll do during the international break, to be fair, mate. I know we've got a few more adverts to fulfill, so there will be content. Yes. We just need to think of it. So hopefully you guys are enjoying One Football. Make sure you download it.
Let us know.
Let us know what you want to see.
Why not?
Maybe we do Morgan and Wise.
Yes, we'll do something fun, mate. We'll do something fun. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more content. Up the villa.